I was just daydreaming about how I used to start the show. I would say or read what I do, and then I'd say, "Who you gonna trust?" And then I'd play that song. I forget the name of the band, but it goes, "No, no, 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 no," and it has that chorus that says, "Nobody but me," and I'd play that. And I'd say, "Don't trust nobody but me, your conscience, and the Holy Scripture." But now I say, "Welcome everybody to Mud Flood was Armageddon." That's right, the Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. And I changed the inflection in my voice a lot during it. So it's not always the same thing, but still easy to remember. I got share the screen up, show the disclaimer. What a program this is going to be. A program, part of a ministry. I am going to start with the pictures as I am wont to do. Here's this one. You like that? I did that. I made the thing. I wanted to look at this thing about Africa earlier. It doesn't have anything to do with the show. I wanted it so I could remember the Fezan. I heard they were cool, but we don't have time to talk about them tonight. So this might have been the thumbnail. What is the point of all of everything? What is the point of all of everything? I saw that thing about a cornucopia. I looked one up to try to convince people it's a body part. They're not, that's a body part. It's in your heart. There are two of them, and one good, bad air, good, bad blood. It's good, bad. It's swastika, in, out. I think that's it. Nope, I got some more. Oh, have you ever heard of Bernadine Dorn? She's a retired professor. I had a picture of Ho Chi Minh right next to him. Yeah, look, when her son grew up and made a movie about what a hero she is. Look at that. It's like, what the cutest kid in the world. That's got to be photoshopped, right? Bernadette Dorn and Bill Ayers. Have you heard about them? Bill Ayers was mentor to the president of the United States, Barack Obama. He talked the young Kenyan into running for president because he's so darn good at kneeling and bobbing. That's a joke about him being a homosexual. That's what I think. I think is pretty much evident. So, but we're talking about Bernadine, not Bernadette. Mother Country Radicals, her son named the movie. At this somber and terrible moment, the murder of somebody named Hamilton. He was a very famous Black Panther. We must act before we do more. Where we felt, we must act, we must do more. So she's saying the police killing Fred Hamilton, the Black hero of the Black Panthers, who were kind of set up. They had, that whole, the Constitution says right to bear arms. That's the Black Panthers that started that. Here's one here. Another Charlie Manson fallacy page on news and politics. After a while, this is a quote for them. I think I have another quote. No, but that's about the women union, women underground. There were crazy discussions. This is one of the guys that was in with Bernadine. They went to one of their parties. No, it was a conference. Crazy discussions at Flint over whether killing white babies was inherently revolutionary, since all white people are the enemy. Out of this bizarre thinking came Bernadine. She was the head of this organization, Bernadine Dorn, the Jewish lady whose father changed his name because he said, "No, honey, our name sounds too Jewish. We'll be called Dorn. We'll take my middle initial and first three letters and go. Dorn. Kill white the babies. What?" Out of this bizarre thinking came Bernadine's infamous speech praising Charlie Manson and his gang's murder of actress Sharon Tate, her unborn child, and the LaBiancas. "Dig it," Bernadine Dorn exclaimed. "First they killed those pigs, then they ate dinner in the same room with them." Wow. This is harder to read out loud than it was when I was reading it in my head because I do not normally read out loud. But when you read it out loud and how they must have heard it, I have a lot of imitations. I don't have a shrill woman one, but I'm going to read it anyway. Bernadette Dorn, professor married to another Weatherman Underground. She was the top 10 most wanted in America at one time. Bernadine Dorn said, Charlie Tate and he didn't do it. He had his cult do it. First, they killed those pigs. Then they ate dinner in the same room with them. They even shoved a fork into the victim's stomach. Wild. We instantly adopted as the Weather Underground salute, 4 fingers held up in the air, invoking the fork left in Sharon Tate's belly. The message was that shit on all your conventional values, you murderers of Black revolutionaries and Vietnamese babies. There were no limits now to our political transgressions. This is a guy who left the Weather Underground after this, and kind of they're like, I don't want to be on the top 10 most wanted list anymore. They're kind of crazy now. I guess they always were. Dorn, for example, was famous for her leather jacket, masculine attitude. In the collectives, these same women pushed smash monogamy in order to go along with anti-imperialist views of the moment, rather than create even more fractures in the group. Wow. So they were standing up. They wanted, how come they stopped calling themselves the Weathermen and went for the Weather Underground? Because there were women in it too, man. What about Bernadine? She's a woman. It's like, you can't say Weathermen. It's got to be Weather Person. And they didn't like the sound of that. So they said Weather Underground because that's kind of sinister. Got this one here from a PDF. It said they were the leaders in the sense of being local and on campus, organizing speakers, but it was always the men who were their officers and who held office positions and gave the big debate speeches. In order to fight this, Dorn and many of the other women of the Weather Underground organization became more like men. They imitated their dress and bravado in order to compete with the machismo of that. Wait, the hippies were all in? No, that was the other Jewish people that were planning the uprising, the Abby Hoffmans, those guys it was a business. That was the plan. Hey, you guys don't know we're going to be outlawing this LSD pretty soon, and it'll be bad, bad, bad. Oh, good thing they figured it out. Those girls started acting like men. What's this? All the way at the bottom. Well, it mentions 3 people who were killed in an accidental explosion in New York City while creating bombs for the Weather Underground in 1 year. I think they did 25 bombs. They weren't killing anybody, but they were making a lot of bombs. These people right here, Diana, Ted, and Terry, they're dead. They're dead. And Bernadine named the Women's Brigade, claimed this as an honor of International Women's Day. What was? Well, they named, after another bombing took place on March 6th, the Women's Brigade claimed they bombed it in honor and in remembrance of, they still called them weathermen at that time. I know it's confusing because there were women in it too. Huh. Radical young something must also lead to the effective organization needed to survive and to create another battlefield of the revolution. A revolution is a war. When the movement, radical youth movement, when the movement in this country can defend itself militarily against total repression, it will be part of the Revolutionary War. This will require a cadre organization, effective secrecy, self-reliance among the cadres. This is a quote, because after that talk about Bernadette Dorn, we got to kill the white babies, she walked that back real fast and became almost, like, forget. She didn't respond for 5 years. She didn't do any help for any black people and kind of was like, yeah, I'm down with white power a lot. The manifesto also asserted that African Americans were a black colony within a U.S. government that was doomed to overextend itself. The radical young movement was needed to quicken the process. This was their plan, the intent of their heart. Bernadette Dorn, president picker, because her husband's with Neil and Bobber, and he was hanging out with Barack for probably one reason. And Dorn said the best thing we can be doing for ourselves, as well as for the Black Panthers and the revolutionary Black liberation struggle, is to build a fucking white revolutionary movement. Did she change? Yeah. She was all Charlie Manson forked that tummy, and somebody got to her and said, look, you expect to choose presidents if you're going to be yapping and running your mouth like that? And she said, oh, at the right to remain silent. So around that time, in Australia, they wanted to convince people, trust. 1986, stay the course, trust President Reagan. As he's basically was the president of Australia and Canada too. It's not like it is now. They loved him. And they had the song, you're the voice, don't sit in silence, get out and protest. And what were they protesting? It was always abortion, always, until now, until it became the economy, because I was stupid. That looks like I'm looking in a mirror. So I hope I was sharing that. So here we go. This is Michael Moore. People, I listen to Rush Limbaugh way too much, and he made fun of Michael Moore. You don't want to listen to that fat pig. So I was listening to a fat pig call another fat pig, as they were both set up, I think, to sway both sides. And we were Hegelian dialectic. We were used until Mudflood was Armageddon, Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age passed. All of the new theology came out. And now we have to live it. As I look back, Michael Moore said everything right about the Bushes that I believe now. While I was voting for them and listening to Rush Limbaugh, that was the divide. Nothing could have stopped this shit hitting the fan. But the insight that even Michael Moore thought he had, about the death when he goes over it and how they kept adding up and how, well, I'm going to play not that much, but right now he's trying to ask because only one person after they blew up the towers. And Michael Moore was on it before me, or he was allowed to be.
And I burned in my soul to tell them, you don't understand. They're not there because they want to be there. But then I came to understand that they weren't protesting the men and the women that were there. They were protesting the concept of the war.
I know I'm a soldier and I'm here to do a job, and I've been a soldier for a while. Once you have to go and do your job and you see the things that you see, I was saying there's some disillusionment in that.
Lieutenant Commander fully expects us to be attacked in some type of way before we get to Park Shell. I know that so far it's been pretty calm, not much has happened, but be aware that it can and it probably will.
War.
On March 19, 2003, George W. Bush and the United States military invaded the sovereign nation of Iraq, a nation that had never attacked the United States, a nation that had never threatened to attack the United States, a nation that had never murdered a single American citizen.
شنو ذنبه؟ شنو ذنبه؟ خليه يقاتلون جندي يقاتلون جندي والله جبناه والله جبناه طلعت عليهم بالدودة قلت لهم اضربني ما يرضى يضربني. نقم معهم وهذا المكان حلفه اجيب علي يعلقه على الحلف.
The roof was on fire because basically it symbolized Baghdad being on fire and
This part here is rated PG-13.
and we wanted it to burn to get Saddam and his regime out.
The roof is on fire. We don't need no water. Let it burn, burn, burn. We don't need no water. Let them burn, burn, burn.
This is a whole totally different picture here, being pushed into the city, urban warfare in a tank, civilians.
The civilians, it gets.
You don't know who's friendly
because we're not.
who's the enemy.
This was a lot more real and true than just a video game. A lot of people thought it was just me. Oh yeah, look through the sight and shoot. No, a lot of this is face to face, and especially riding by after some of the bombs have went off and seeing all the people on the side of the road bloated up and just all the smells around you. I mean, from the people lying dead, rotted, and it's a lot more gruesome than you think.
We called in with some artillery and some napalm and things like that. Some innocent women and children got hit. We met.
And they wonder why the death count for this war continues to grow at the same pace. If the people that were involved in it are doing that, taking their own life thing, because in my opinion, not as a doctor, but as a medical man who's done the peyote services, I endorse the mushrooms. A lot of medical doctors do, even in the VA, but they only do serotonin reuptake inhibiting with Prozac and things like that. Questionable science. Backed by everyone. Even the people who think the Nephilim were clowns and nobody should ever do a mushroom. That's a plant from hell.
18 countries. Yes, with our mighty coalition intact,
Freemasons.
We were ready.
One could almost say it's the mother of all coalitions.
Fortunately, we have an independent media in this country who would tell us the truth.
The rallying around the president, around the flag, and around the troops clearly has begun.
And we're going to win!
You really have to be with the troops to understand that kind of adrenaline rush that they get.
I just want you to know, I think Navy SEALs rock.
The pictures you're seeing are absolutely phenomenal.
When my country is at war, I want my country to win.
Iraqi opposition has faded in the face of American power.
What you're watching here is truly historic television and journalism.
It was absolutely electric. Come right here. He knows about this corner. I emailed him.
At the end of January of '04, the unemployment rate in Flint was actually 17%, but you have to take into consideration as well that when your unemployment runs out, you're no longer counted. I would say that we're probably close to at least 50%. Not
Joe Rush Limbaugh and everybody said it's not like all of a sudden these are the good guys. Democrats are not the good guys. They're abortion-loving, Moab worshiping Baal worshipers. But it's not like they're stupid. They believe things we should have believed, and they thought we were stupid because we were trained.
You're a little gangster. Yeah. We're heading over to the Cortland Mall right now.
They decided not to go to the wealthier Genesee Valley Mall in the suburbs. They have a hard time recruiting young people there. Instead, they went to the other mall.
Let's go into through Mervyn's. In through Mervyn's.
And then we'll
You're going to try to recruit people.
time to relax. However, we are in a combat zone. My soldiers do recognize that fact.
Everybody's a little bit nervous about it, I guess. We're professionals. We're going to take care of you. I promise.
Every house here has the right to have weapons. Maximum, one AK-47. We always.
Guys about 17, 18, starting to come together. And they hate us. Just why, I'm not really sure.
Immoral behavior breeds immoral behavior. When a president commits the immoral act of sending otherwise good kids to war based on a lie, this is what you get.
Hey, is you ticklish? Yes, you do. Don't tell me you don't know what it is.
Death toll, but they're not showing the amount of people that's being injured or being amputated because of the injuries,
Like I still feel like I have hands.
Yeah.
And the pain is like my hands are being crushed in a vice. But they do a lot to help it, and they take a lot of the edge off of it, and it makes it a lot more tolerable. And
I was injured in late April on patrol in Baghdad. A couple of guys come out and ambushed us.
And then we lost after 20 years in Afghanistan. These guys did it.
And it was mailed March 16th, but I didn't get it until probably a week before he was killed. Hello. Hey, Mama. Well, sorry I haven't been able to call. They took the phone 7 days ago. I got the letter and box. That is so cool. Your first grandson came the same day your oldest son did. How is everyone? I'm doing fine. We are just out here in the sand in windstorms.
It wasn't for no reason.
If it wasn't for the oil, nobody would be there. Yeah. Nobody would worry about it.
Unfortunately, at least for the near term, we think it's going to be a good situation or a dangerous situation.
Now, both the Republicans and the Democrats are two wings of the same bird. They're working together to keep abortion legal, to keep the flat earth hidden. They're not the friends. Hey, Zach Mack, I've been trying to run by and look at that house. I just don't know. Stream unavailable. I'm going to have to sign off.